Wow, 39-34. Ole Miss over Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. They're going to Glendale, Arizona. Let's just say this out loud. Let's just all take a time for just a second to say this sentence out loud. The Pete Golding led Ole Miss Rebels, next line, are going to the semifinal. This was a five Chalai Classic. The Sugar Bowl delivered. Rose Bowl, dud. Favor Indiana. What was earlier than that? Orange Bowl, dud. Favor Oregon. And then just fireworks all over the place. And it's 21-12 at one point in this game. And I saw a few people say what I kind of started to think, and that was, oh, here goes Georgia. And instead, Ole Miss outscored them the rest of the way out. Oh, man, the answers in the second half, unbelievable. So normally I like to wait 10 or 15 minutes after these games are over, cool down, gather my thoughts. No, I just hopped on here. Game just ended a minute ago. So I'm going to say five Chalai Classic. And you got to cut the head off the snake is a sentence I've said 1,000 times about Georgia this year. And what that means, for those of you who have watched the show, you already know, but what I just keep saying about that is there have been so many times this year where someone looked like they had Georgia on the ropes. Georgia's got the heart of a champion. The resiliency, all the cliches that aren't really cliches, they're just formulas to win that's been instilled in that place for a long time. They exhibited them many times this year, got off the ropes, came back from the dead, and it looked for all the world like that was about to happen tonight. And then Ole Miss just they dropped the shovel right down on their head and they killed the snake. They cut the head off the snake. I got so many things to say. All right, so I'm going to say one thing. I want to get this out of the way really, really, really quick because this is not what this is about at all. But I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of an Ole Miss fan. And man, this totally, totally washes the Lane Kiffin stuff out of my mind. But I'm thinking just for a second, just for a microsecond, how sweet it must be, how vindicating it must feel to do this in New Orleans against a team that with Kiffin you couldn't beat in Athens earlier this year. And you got it done, and it's got to be like, honestly, I don't know how it would feel. The best thing I could come up with in my mind right now is like if you had a bad breakup, if you got a divorce, and then you got a huge job promotion and also won the lottery the next day, and you just look and you say, who cares where he is? Who cares where she is? Look at me. This is great. I prayed for times like these. And then whew, he's done. And now you're on to the semifinals. It's got to be amazing.
Hey, do me one favor right here. Look down. Are you subscribed to the channel? If you are, thank you. If you're not, please click subscribe. It helps us keep the show free and free of corporate interference. All right, that's it for me. Back to the clip.
I said several times I thought Trinidad Chambliss was the most dangerous quarterback in the playoff. I didn't even get a whole lot of pushback on it. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious why. Anyone who would have pushed back on that probably just pushed back because they hadn't watched him play a whole lot, which is okay. But he was 30 of 46 tonight. He was 352 yards. He was two touchdowns, no picks. Kewan Lacey, Warriors effort for Ole Miss tonight, ran it for, I think, nearly 100 yards. But I was of the opinion you're not going to beat Kirby and Georgia running the ball. Ole Miss had an okay night running the ball, but that wasn't what was going to win the game. What was going to have to win the game was Trinidad Chambliss doing something like Deshaun Watson had done 10 years ago against Kirby when he was at Alabama. I always draw on that because if you get Georgia's best, or back then, if you got Bama's best, that was kind of the effort it took. A Manziel, a Deshaun Watson, a Joe Burrow, like that kind of stuff. You had Trinidad Chambliss go full on Deshaun Watson, full on Joe Burrow mode tonight. That was what that was. That's how special that performance was because not only was he 30 of 46, not only did he make at least two or three just 20-year from now highlight reel memorable throws, you can't quantify his value in this game. You can look at his stat line all you want to. 30 of 46 is great. 352 through the air is phenomenal. I think about the impact he had on Kirby Smart's decision making. I think about what he did to Georgia's decision making because I'm watching Kirby Smart get put on tilt to the point where they're going for it on their own 30-yard line. And it's a 3-point game, I believe, at that point, and they don't convert. And then all of a sudden, that place is a hornet's nest. And then Ole Miss immediately scores. They're up 10. And you're looking around and you're saying, why did he just make that call? Trinidad Chambliss is why he made that call. He's terrified to put the ball back in his hands. Kirby, I don't blame one bit, by the way, for that. When those guys get hot, and there aren't many of them, I say those guys like there are a million of them. You've had a handful of guys throughout the history of this sport. I imagine playing Michael Vick in the early 2000s. I imagine playing a Manziel, or I imagine, playing Trinidad Chambliss tonight. When those guys get in that mode, when those guys get in that zone, it's like if you had a hose pipe that had a bunch of water pressure built up, and then you just turn it loose, hose pipes are going to fly all over the place. It's like trying to catch that hose pipe without getting wet. What you got to hope, really, because you're not going to stop it, what you got to hope is the water pressure just gives out and then the hose pipe just goes back to normal. And then there's just normal water flow coming out of it. Sometimes it doesn't cut off, and it really didn't cut off. I mean, even to the point where I thought that missed face mask, which was egregious, by the way. I thought the missed face mask was going to cost Ole Miss this game because you're talking about going from them maybe getting off the field to Georgia's got a first down in plus territory. Um, and I'm thinking to myself the whole time, like, oh, so that's the way it's going to go. So that's the way it's going to go. No, no, because then you fast forward a few minutes, Chambliss, 34 all, he gets the ball back with about a minute, a little less than a minute to go, and you just know. You don't know what's going to happen specifically, but in general, you kind of just, I don't know, you kind of know what's going to happen. And 40-yard pass gets him in field goal range. Ole Miss has got a kicker. He's got a weapons grade kicker. Um, and it was ball game. The beauty of it, though, to me, is Trinidad Chambliss plays out of his mind, and yet Ole Miss didn't really lean on him. And what I mean by that is sometimes when you got a guy that's totally in a zone, it almost turns into like one-man football where everyone else realizes our guy's in a zone. And so you kind of become a spectator figuratively in that you just kind of wait for him to make the play. That was not the attitude of Ole Miss. That's really what's beautiful about all of it. You got receivers fighting their tail off. You got tailbacks. You got linemen. Defensively, this was an incredibly hard-hitting game. You're going to give up some points. You did the first time. You did this time. But I mean, man, just complimentary when you play complimentary ball and you've got a guy that goes into total star mode, then that's how you do this. And you know what? On the Georgia side of things, I said in the preview, I picked Georgia to win. And then I thought to myself, all right, well, but if Ole Miss wins, how would they win? And it was exactly what they did. You would get enough on the ground, and then quarterback would go into total transcendent star mode. And there's really not much you can do about it. There wasn't much Georgia could do about it. That's why if you look at Kirby after the game, there was a smile on his face. He's not happy, but there's a smile on his face. He daps up Pete Golding. You just tip your cap. That's all you can do. You can certainly go back and watch the film and you can nitpick it as a fan and you can certainly grade it out as a coach and you won't have played perfect, but I guarantee you the level Georgia played at tonight is good enough to win 8 or 9 times out of 10. They just faced an incredibly hot, really, really talented quarterback. They got in the zone on them, and that's the price you pay. Gunnar Stockton just plays out of his mind. He was in 3 or 4 car wrecks on the field tonight and still leading that team, still making big throws. I mean, that fourth down throw he made to extend that drive late in that game is just incredible. Um, you just got to tip your cap sometimes. If that's what it takes to beat you, then you're just banking on the fact that not many people are going to be capable of that. Every now and then, few times in your career, some guy's going to be capable of that. And if you throw your fastball and you spot it where you want, and he turns on that thing and hits it 420 anyway, you just tip your cap to him. It, most of the time, they hit it 420 because you hang a breaking ball. You split the plate and you had him down 1-2 in the count, and oops, that's an error on my part. They took advantage of it. That was not the way this game unfolded, which is really what you take all the more pride in if you're Ole Miss, and that no one handed you anything. Quite the opposite. I thought there were some calls. Now, look, there were some calls that went against both teams, but I thought critical calls that went against Ole Miss, and yet still, there they are. So they're about to go, they being Ole Miss, they're about to go to Glendale. They're about to face Miami. And the one thing that I was thinking late in the game is no matter who emerges from this, They're emerging from what was probably, I mean, I'm trying to think. Georgia didn't play many more hard-hitting games than that this year. It may have been the most hard-hitting game they played this year. And I guarantee that's the most hard-hitting game Ole Miss played this year. Whoever emerges from that has Miami waiting on them. That's rough. That's not the easiest draw in the world, but time stands still in games like that. I don't know how you watched it. You may have been in the gym or you may have been just glued to it on your couch. Some of you may have been there. That's a ticket stub, especially if you have a physical ticket stub, which I don't think they even do anymore. That's one you want to keep. Don't delete that one on your phone. That's the one you want to keep. But I feel like time stands still in games like that, where you know you're watching one you're going to talk about for a while, and you almost, for the sake of the players, it needs to be a four-quarter game. But for a fan's perspective, you kind of think to yourself, I could go another fifth quarter, sixth quarter on this. I'd be fine with that. Um, just time stands still. That's not the way those first two games felt today. That is the way this one felt to me. Georgia had won 53 games when they were leading at the half, and then they hadn't. Unbelievable game in the Sugar Bowl. Could not be any more impressed with Pete Golding, Charlie Weiss Jr., but you got to give credit to that whole staff and that collection of kids, uh, people behind the scenes whose names you'll never know. Just imagine what they've been through in the past month. It's not like you're asking folks to feel sorry for them. It's not that. It's just that, I mean, earlier today, we watch a team like Alabama that's got everything going for them and just get throttled. And then you watch a team whose back's been put against the wall for a month, all kinds of adversity. They haven't been there before, by the way, and they perform spectacularly. That's why you play the games. That's why college football is the greatest sport on the face of the earth. So congrats to Ole Miss 39-34 final. They are headed to Glendale, Arizona in the Fiesta Bowl to face Miami with a trip to the national championship game on the line.